The Case Against Smart Taxes on Carbon by D.W. MacKenzie. Today is Earth Day, and a week ago we celebrated Tax Day. It is fitting, in a sense, that Earth Day and Tax Day are only 1 week apart. Those who blame global warming on human activity see taxation as an effective and desirable means of preventing environmental global catastrophe. In a recent publication, former Bush advisor Greg MacKenzie has extended an open invitation to join the Bijou Club by embracing the idea of regulating greenhouse gases with corrective taxes. The idea behind corrective taxes is relatively simple. British economist A.C. Bijou explained how markets need correction. The use of goods we buy in markets generates external cost. The price we pay for goods are internal, but any type of pollution, noise, air, or waterborne, imposes a real cost on other people outside the transaction. In such instances, the amount of goods that consumers buy will be excessive because they do not bear the full cost. Taxes on goods that generate negative externalities internalize cost to consumers, provided that they are set at the right level. Hence, taxes can correct markets that oversupply goods, in theory. Professor MacKenzie advocates taxing carbon, which includes taxes on gasoline. Taxes on gasoline would reduce greenhouse gas emissions, while also reducing road congestion and auto accidents. There are several standard economic objections to such proposals for corrective taxation. First of all, corrective taxation requires knowledge of the magnitude of externalities. Externalities are by definition not priced through any social mechanism or institution. But MacKenzie admits to problems with calculating the right level of taxation. Second, the case for corrective taxation often derives from the Nirvana Fallacy. MacKenzie does mention that markets are efficient according to the first welfare theorem of economics, which is characterized by the total absence of externalities. The idea that markets are efficient only when externalities are absent suggests that markets should be held to an impossible standard of perfection. Economist Ronald Coase demonstrated that externalities vanish only in the wholly unreal world where people can negotiate and carry out transactions at zero cost. Such a world of zero transaction cost would deliver economic perfection. The fact of the matter is that neither government nor markets deliver us into nirvana. We could then accuse Professor MacKenzie of making a false comparison between flawed markets and an idealized government that always corrects market flaws, but he skips this trap. The main problem with our government is supposedly that politicians listen to voters rather than experts. MacKenzie borrows a few lines from Brian Kaplan to argue that voters are irrational. Voters block the implementation of good policies like free trade and corrective carbon taxes because they disagree with the real experts. I would agree with the first example that experts, that is economists, favor free trade, and the public should pay us heed. The second example is more problematic. MacKenzie claims that as an economist he is not qualified to comment on scientific theories of climate change. I agree. Neither of us are experts on these matters. I do not understand the details of various theories of climate change concerning greenhouse gases, volcanic eruptions, ocean currents, and solar activity. MacKenzie further claims that there is a consensus among experts in climate science that global warming is both real and caused by human actions. In this case, we need only examine empirical data to see why we should decline invitations to the Bijou Club. RSS and UAH data on global temperatures indicate that global warming peaked in 1998 and went flat during the past decade, while CO2 levels continued to rise. The data indicate that global temperatures in the atmosphere actually fell in 2007 and 2008. Some scientists claim that 90% of global warming takes place in oceans, but a detailed study indicates that ocean temperatures fell from 2003 to 2008. MacKenzie is simply wrong. There is a scientific consensus that global warming is on hold. Last summer, 31,000 scientists signed a petition asserting that there is no convincing scientific evidence that human release of greenhouse gases is causing or will in the foreseeable future cause catastrophic heating of the Earth's atmosphere and disruption of the Earth's climate. There is substantial scientific evidence that increases in atmospheric carbon dioxide produce many beneficial effects upon the natural plant and animal environments. Furthermore, there is a growing number of scientists who predict global cooling over the next 20 or 30 years. Meteorologist Henrik Svensmark and Ejolf Frisk Christensen have found evidence that solar activity affects global temperatures. Scientific projections of solar activity predict a solar minimum over the next 2 decades. Of course, there are scientists with different opinions of climate change, but the point here is that scientific opinion is divided on the causes of climate change. Moreover, the actual evidence on recent climate change does not support the case for carbon taxes. MacKenzie has mistaken intellectuals for experts. F.A. Hayek characterized intellectuals as people who convey the ideas of experts to the general public through mass media. A large part of print and broadcast media does promote the idea of anthropogenic global warming. However, these intellectuals are well behind the curve of expert opinion. There was a consensus on the existence of global warming 10 years ago, though the causes of this trend were still debated. It is now clear that global warming has ceased, and we may have entered a period of global cooling. MacKenzie has twisted Brian Kaplan's idea that voters hold irrational beliefs to make a case that experts should devise corrective carbon taxes. Gasoline taxes supposedly make sense because of externalities, and voters reject these taxes supposedly because they are foolish. The idea that gas prices are too low and must be raised with corrective taxes derives from a false notion of reason. The idea that experts can do a better job of directing the use of resources, including gasoline, than can markets and market prices, derives from the faulty assumption that experts know more than the whole of society. The price of gasoline is formed out of competition for labor and capital by various industries. The industries that garner the most revenue from consumers gain the capital and labor needed to expand production toward efficient levels. Market prices therefore reflect consumer demands to a high degree. Some supposed economics experts claim to possess superior knowledge of consumer desires, but they are engaged in empty speculation. The effects of externalities on consumers are unobserved by definition, and in this case the existence of the source of externality in question is in serious doubt. Market prices do not reflect perfect knowledge, but there is no better source of data on the efficient use of resources. Given the flaws in Professor MacKenzie's arguments, I will have to decline his invitation to join the Bijou Club. Members of the Bijou Club may think experts are smart enough to improve upon the results of market competition, but this is an unproven proposition. Market prices reflect the collective knowledge of all members of society who buy and sell in markets, and there is no better source of data on how to best satisfy consumer demands. Prices are certainly imperfect representations of economic reality, but the limits of individual human reason make efforts by experts to outguess markets futile. Since the case for smart taxes is unfounded, I will reply to Professor Manqui by extending an invitation for him to join the Hayek Club by acknowledging that market prices are the only practicable means of directing global production towards the satisfaction of the most urgent consumer demands.